Welcome back. So there are some Republicans really pointing to this moment in last night's debate. Let's play the tape and we'll explain why after.
I would transition from the oil industry, yes.
Oh,
I will
that's
transition.
A big statement.
It is a big statement because the oil industry pollutes significantly.
I see.
Here's the deal. But
That's
you
a
can't
big
do that.
statement.
Well, if you let me finish the statement, because it has to be replaced by renewable energy over time. Over time. And I'd stop giving to the oil industry, I'd stop giving them federal subsidies. You won't give federal subsidies.
Joe Biden later clarified his stance, but this could impact him with voters in key states that rely on oil and gas industries. CNN correspondent Bill Weir joins us now. Bill, listening to that comment there, I mean, you're deep into the climate change issue here. Tell us about the political implications.
Well, it's interesting, Jim. Ever since Hillary Clinton lost coal country and was sort of tagged as a warrior against those workers, the Biden campaign has been very careful not to scare away Pennsylvania. Frackers. Now, for anybody who remotely cares about land and water and animals and climate, this is an obvious choice. They live in two different planets. On planet Trump, there are no gigafires out west. Miami is not flooding. There are no experts telling us that this is just the beginning of a new normal. And the reality is, back here on planet Earth, that a renewable energy company just last week was more valuable than ExxonMobil. The International Energy Association just put out the report that says solar projects are now perhaps the cheapest form of energy ever invented. So we're on a tipping point right now, and the Biden campaign is trying to temper any big seismic changes that might scare people away, saying it'll take time, but there's not a lot of time. He wants to decarbonize the electricity sector in just the next 15 years, be net zero for the whole country. And just for perspective, it took this country about 100 years to lay out its energy grid. By some estimates, that will have to be done 2.5 times over to make it a smart grid. So it was just a clear choice last night between Biden, who calls this an existential threat and tempers the nightmare with a dream of all these green jobs, and Donald Trump, who continues to just hit it gusher after gusher of lies and misinformation and insistence that we stay on these old dirty fuels.
Bill, the president also made a claim last night that I've heard the vice president, Mike Pence, make before that is just not true. He said again that the U.S. has the cleanest air and water. I think it's actually like 16th on the list, right?
Exactly, and it's getting worse since this administration completely dismantled the enforcement arm of the Environmental Protection Agency, rolled back dozens of clean air and water provisions, and as a point of comparison, he said, look at India, look at China, look at Russia. They're filthy without any sort of self-awareness that the reason our environment is clear here is a result of the Clean Air and Water Acts and the EPA created by Richard Nixon. So it would be much worse if it wasn't for those sorts of things. But it's been the Republican platform for a long time that all environmental regulation is bad. But you're seeing it, especially in communities of color. And that was what brought up that sort of real candid moment about Joe Biden transitioning away from fossil fuel, which everybody is saying. But the fact he would say it out loud as a presidential debate is news. But he talked about growing up, near these big oil refineries in Delaware and having oil on the windshield. That's when Trump pounced. That's when Biden says we have to get off these fuels.
Yeah, remarkable what that public statement means about where the debate has moved in this country. Bill Weir, thanks very much.